Well, hello. My name is Dr. Jenna Ross, and this is another episode of Get Your Head in the Game podcast. And I am the host and the owner of Renew Performance. And today I have a special guest. He is returning, Ricky Sapp. He is the owner of the Ricky Sapp Foundation. He is a motivational speaker. He is a coach over at Clemson University and a former NFL veteran, played for a few different teams, and has quite the experience to share with us. So thank you, Ricky, for being here once again.
Thank you for that awesome intro. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me again.
Yes. Yes. So I've been kind of watching your journey, obviously on social media and following, the work that you've been doing. And so today I really wanted to dive into just the idea of, finding out your purpose and your identity and knowing what that is. And I see, you're going around talking to a lot of youth, younger kids, all ages. And so, part of that journey for them, I think, is coming to that place of understanding who they are. And just the same for you. I know you've shared on the last episode we did, on really figuring out what you were called to do and what your purpose was. So I'm curious, like, how did you get to that point?
Man, you want the long version or the short version?
All day, however
Uh,
long you need.
so my purpose in life is to work with kids and encourage kids and to travel the world and tell kids a message. How I got to that was I was transitioning out of the NFL. Well, I didn't know I was transitioning out of the NFL, but I was my last NFL game was against the Cowboys, and I went back to Myrtle Beach and with the intentions on playing in the NFL again, but it didn't happen. So I ended up about a year and a half, 2 years, about a year and a half. I was pretty much in my house, depressed, anxiety, and all that stuff. I got asked to go speak to this high school by the name of North Myrtle Beach High School. I lived in Myrtle Beach, and I went and spoke to North Myrtle Beach High School. And then the guy that asked me a couple of days later, he texted me and was like, "Hey man, the kids loved it. They put your quotes up. Would you be a volunteer coach?" And I'm like, I'm not a coach. I play football. So I said no. But then he asked me again like weeks later. And then by this time, I told one of my good friends about it, and she was like, maybe you should do it. Take your mind off of football. So I go and do it. And I'm a volunteer coach. And while I'm doing this, these kids just took me, just took my heart. And I can remember my spirit was just jumping for joy. And
Mm.
I would tell my friend, like, man, when I'm around these kids, man, I'm feeling something. I don't know what this is. So I coach football, and then they asked me to do JV basketball. One night after a game, me and the head coach were talking to these kids, and we was getting on the kid, I was getting on him, and he was talking, and he was like, man, why are you so hard on me? Like, why, why? And something in me was like, just tell him you love him. I said, man, I love you, man. And then
Mm.
it was that moment where I figured out my true purpose and why God really put me here, and that it wasn't that the NFL was just one of the big gifts that
Mhm.
He gave, but my purpose was to work with kids. Yeah.
Wow. So going through all that, and I know you kind of shared a little bit last time, but you were dealing with, even during that time, you were dealing with some heavy mental health struggles of depression and trying to figure that out, right?
Uh, those coaches and kids had no idea. Some days I didn't even show up because I couldn't leave my house, man. And this is what grabbed my attention. When I first started coaching there, I had all this energy and excitement. Like, man, I love watching these kids play, and I played football. So, of course, I just had so much energy and passion. But it was some days I couldn't leave my house because I was just so down and out about not playing in the NFL, embarrassment, and just feeling embarrassed and feeling, just feeling bad about not playing. And on these days I wouldn't show up, the kids would hit me up on social media like, hey, man, you know, it's not the same when you're not here. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I was going through it, man. Those kids and coaches had no idea. You know, they thought it was so cool to have an NFL guy coaching, but you
Hmm.
know, there to figure out my purpose and for those kids to pretty much save my life.
Hmm. Yeah. It
Yeah.
sounds like it. So when you were in that kind of phase of figuring this out, like when did you come to the realization that this is what you're really here for?
Well, that night when I told that kid that I love you, it clicked. It's just something like it's almost like God was like, "All right, this is it. Hey,
Hmm.
this is
Hmm.
what I do." And I remember going home, and I'll just be real with you, man. It was the best feeling I've ever felt. Just feeling, man, all right, you know, okay, you want me to work with kids. Now, I didn't know how he wanted me to work with kids. Was it to be a teacher, coach? And eventually what I figured out is that he want me to be a motivational speaker and travel the world and and give them a message.
Mm.
Mm.
So you talk about that good feeling. And I've talked to a lot of people that just don't, they're searching for that. They don't know what their purpose is. They don't necessarily know even really what their own identity is. So when you started to discover that, and you say good feeling, like what type of emotions and thoughts was that? What did that actually feel like?
I was sitting in my chair in my room talking to my friend because during that time I cut everybody out because I was just so down and out and only maybe one or two friends knew what I was going through. So I was sitting in my room that night after I left the kids, and man, I wish I could describe it. It was just an amazing feeling. Like, man, this feels good. Like I know why I'm here. I know what my purpose is. And it was kind of at that moment where it was like, all right, football is not your identity. You know,
Hmm.
this is why I put you here to work with kids, encourage kids. Here's the funny thing: I had no idea. I,
Mhm.
football was all I ever did, and
Mhm.
just like any other young kid, I thought I was gonna play for 10 years and then sell off into the sunset, and that was gonna be it. So in that moment, sitting in my room, man, it was like a high that you can never imagine. And
Hmm.
I've never done any kind of drugs or alcohol, so but I can imagine that's what I don't know, but it was like a high that I never. It was
So
like
not
a high.
even in your all of your time in the NFL, did you ever have that same feeling or something similar?
I tell you this, and this is I don't think I've never told anybody this except for maybe one person, and that was just recently. I told football. I had that feeling when I first started playing football. Um, People will tell you, my close friends will tell you, I was I was a quiet guy, But if you got to know me, I was loud and passionate. But when I put on that helmet when I played football in middle school, high school, it was like a whole different person. It was like passionate, talking trash. It was like when I put that helmet on, I was a whole different person, and it was amazing. But as I got into my 11th grade and 12th grade year, in the back of my mind, the feeling for that started to decline, and
Hmm.
I was maybe it's just I'm playing high school and I'm better than a lot of people. But nah, man, as I got older in college and in the NFL, that feeling was just, you know what I'm saying? So, but I was still fighting it. I was like, man, football. I play football. I was still fighting it. So, um, nah, man, I never felt nothing like that until I figured out what my true purpose was,
Hmm.
and I
Yeah.
still get feeling that feeling when
Yeah.
I'm yeah.
And I think it is really hard to describe. And I'm
Mm.
fortunate enough to walk in what I would call my purpose and that feeling that I get. So I understand it, but you talk to people and you do a lot of speaking and motivational talks with younger kids. What would what advice do you give to them about finding what that is, finding what your purpose is, knowing what your identity is. Like, have you ever spoke on that or shared anything with these younger kids?
Well, the first thing I tell them is you have to try things, man. My son was one of those kids that just, just like me, he didn't want to try nothing, didn't want to try different food, didn't want to try doing different things. So what I tell kids is you have to try as many different things as you can. Unfortunately, the school systems are not helping them figure out what they're really passionate about. So what I tell them, I say, look, pick three things and try it and see if you like it, see if you love it. And of course, a lot of them are like, well, give me some ideas. All right, go wash some cars, go cut some grass, go hiking. Man, go take a dance class, go take a course. And then some of them I even tell them, I say there are a lot of assessments online where you can take an assessment and it'll tell you what you're passionate about. But the biggest thing is I say you have to try as many different things as you can. But here's the key: when you try, you have to see what you feel like when you're in that moment because you're gonna feel it. You
Hmm.
you're gonna feel it, and when you feel it, you're gonna know that that's what you want to do. So that's
Yeah,
my advice. Yeah,
that's good. And I think, it's so important to pay attention to what that is because so many people do
we
things, but they're not actually paying
don't.
attention to what's happening for them.
No, we don't. Um, for me, I was I don't know. I tell you before, but I struggled with anxiety and depression, and it wasn't until I got with the New York Jets where I was forced to talk to somebody. Fast forward when the COVID hit, I found this place where a bunch of professional athletes was going for rehab for alcohol and drug abuse, but also anxiety and depression. And I was like, all right, if any time to go, then it's time to go now. So anyway, I went, and part of the program was they would try to get you outside to do different things. Well, they took me hiking, and before that, I went hiking one time in Colorado. That was the second time I went hiking. I went hiking, and again, that kind of like that feeling was, my spirit was like, this is it. Need to be it.
Uh-huh.
So I figured out, just trying it. I figured out that I need to be in nature. So we
Yeah.
have to, yeah,
Yeah. So many of us, I think, go through life just going through the motions, and it's so,
yeah, you
that
got,
eventually leads you down the trail of, well, who am I really even? And talking to people about, figuring out what their identity is. It's like, how do you even describe how to
mm-hmm.
figure that out?
Oh yeah.
For you, like, what was it that you went from finding your worth in football to now being able to let go of that? Like, what was that process like of like, this is no longer who I am?
Well, throughout that, I say like 2 years, I still had opportunities to play in the NFL. You know, I've never told a lot of people, oh man, I had the opportunities. And even when I would go try for teams, you know, I was just still in a funk, kind of
Mm.
down. So for me, it took about 2 years to where I was like, okay, that's not football I'm good. I want to chase these doggone kids. So for me, what happened was I continued to coach at this high school, but then I went another route. I went to a gym, and this guy, he owned his gym, and I was working out in there, and he trained a lot of kids. And I would talk to kids and scream and shout at them and mess with them, and he was like, "Man, you really good with kids." So I started training kids, and then that took off, and then eventually that turned into um, people asked me to do motivational speaking, and then somebody talked me into being a substitute teacher. So it just kind of just took off to the different levels of working with kids. So that's how it kind of looked for me as far as my transition. But I knew that I was supposed to be around kids, so I was just trying to figure that out. Like, okay, what's next?
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, so putting kind of that in perspective, I think, you know, we will put our identity or our worth in what we do. So, for you, it was football. It was performing. Um, so do you feel like you still have a tendency to do that, or do you feel like now it's like, okay, it's deeper than that. Like it's not just how I perform.
Well, when you're an athlete, you're gonna always have a competitive edge. You're gonna always look for something to compete with. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, so I don't I don't think about it in a football way per se,
Hmm.
but I look at it as, all right, I know my assignment. So every time I get around kids, I'm gonna try my best to let them know that I see them, I hear, and then what can I do for them, if that makes sense. So um, football was awesome, man. It's awesome, but my purpose is amazing. How
Hmm.
many? We all got different purposes, but how many people get picked to work with kids? Not many. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so it's an amazing feeling to be able to do that.
Yeah. And it's almost like you switch from, football being oriented towards you and your success
Mm.
versus now, being able to pour into other people and really invest into them. It's that's such a like dynamic shift to have happen.
Yeah,
Um,
just like any sport, I feel like football teaches you about everything, and you can use almost everything you're taught in football for life. So, but my competitive edge, I use that. Like even before I speak, I hype myself up like a football game. You know, before I work with kids, it's competitive. I want to try to grab their attention. As quick
mhm.
as and it's hard as the older the kids get, they're too cool for school now.
Yeah.
So they're not going to tell you. One thing about older kids, they're not going to tell you that they know that you care. It's going to take you.
Hmm.
So yeah, I use a lot of the things I learned from football and I apply it to what I'm doing now.
Yeah. How do you build that trust then with those kids and that age group?
Man, college athletes are just big high school kids. If that makes sense. So they still have that gift that we all had when we was a kid, and that is they know when you're real or not.
Mm.
They, they know when you're for them and they're not. I think as we get older in college, I think we lose that because we get pulled so many different directions. And after a while, we forget that we had that great gift to know that people are really authentic and they really care for us, but they still have it um,
Mhm.
in college. So I can't take the credit for that. I think it's the gift that God gave me when I get around kids. I think for me, the way I gain their trust is being the same guy every day. Being the exact same, dancing and screaming and shouting and building relationships with them. If anybody, I'm very personal, and this is what I've told kids all my life when I figured out my purpose was. You are stuck with me for life,
Mhm.
and these older kids, they like, yeah, whatever. They don't believe that. So, um, for me, the way I gain their trust is I show up every day and I'm the same guy. I treat everybody fair. I love them. I give them attention and I give them energy. And that's how I gain their trust.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. The consistency piece.
Yeah. I do.
Um, we have a tendency to be inconsistent, I think, in a lot of areas of our life. So yeah, being consistently the same and being consistently authentic,
Oh,
it
yeah.
sounds like is what is making the true difference. Um, so what do you do then? You said that you bring energy, and I know what you do, but for people listening, this is Ricky Sapp, owner of Ricky Sapp Foundation, and also known as what I didn't introduce you as was the dancing weight room coach, right? So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how do you bring that energy? I mean, I watch it and it's like it is consistent. It's every single, what is it? Now it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
It
So
was only people kept telling me, man, you only dance one day. Like, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So tell us a little bit about that for people listening.
Well, I didn't realize until, believe it or not, after the NFL that I had a lot of energy. And one day, I was always someone that I would just dance, in the gym. And one day, one of my friends recorded it. They posted it. People loved it. Then fast forward, when I got into the school system, I was like, how can I relate to these kids? Dance. So I got a shirt made, Dancing for Smiles, the dance substitute teacher. And my game plan was I'm gonna call them out, do a dance battle. And after that, I knew I was gonna have their attention and they was gonna see that, hey, I'm relatable. I can speak on your level. So that's kind of how that got started. And then of course, I kept dancing and dancing and posting one on Monday. And then every school I went to, I would call kids out. We would do dance battles. Um, and then of course, now I'm at Clemson. Nothing changed. I don't give a dang. I wouldn't go stop being who I was. So when I first got here, man, they was like, yo, who is this dude? This dude is crazy. Crazy. This year, just a month ago, one of the kids was like, man, I thought you were so annoying, but now I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them came to me and was like, man, I love your energy, man. You the same guy every day. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how I got into the dancing. And I only do it because I know it makes people laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it puts off good energy. That's the only reason why I do it.
Yeah.
And now I do it for the football team when I do post it in the morning, just because I know at least one or two of them need that energy. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I got all the energy in the world, and I do enjoy dancing. I'm not sure I'm the best dancer, but
Still entertaining. So
yeah.
is energy then, would you say it's contagious?
Oh yeah, 100%. It is definitely contagious. When I realized I had a lot of energy, I was like, all right, shoot, I'm gonna let this thing go. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use it. Especially with my motivational speaking. I'm an energy guy. So when I speak, I'm bringing energy. And I've heard speakers with energy, and I was like, dang, I feel that.
Mhm.
So energy is contagious, man. I always tell people you have to check, who you're around because your energy is special, and you don't want nobody else coming into your space giving you negative energy or a down energy. So energy is definitely important, and I use it. I thank God like I use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super. I mean, it is. We don't, again, back to like the things we don't pay attention to. It's like, what are you allowing in? Is it negative? Is it positive? Is it, going to bring you down or going to lift you up? And so it sounds like, being able to be that person that lifts people up, and encourages them and motivates them.
Yeah. Even some days when I don't, even if I come in there and if I come in there and I'm kind of just, walking, chilling and quiet, the guys would be like, hey man, your energy off a little bit. I'm like, what you mean? So even when I don't really have it, they call me out on it and I'm like, all right, I gotta turn it up a little bit. So, you know,
I have to give you like caffeine or an energy drink to like get you going.
I don't drink none of that. This is all natural.
All natural energy. That's awesome. So any kind of last words that you want to tell people listening about really trying to discover their own purpose, and how? I talk to a lot of people and they just don't know how.
The first thing I would tell people is you can't think about or worry about what anybody else think about you when you do try to figure out what it is that you're into. Because a lot of time I think, people are scared to try things because of what they think people are gonna say.
Yeah.
Can't do that, man. Life is too short.
Hmm.
We are not here for a long time. So it's very important that we be bold and we try different things. So the first thing I would say is don't worry about what people think. Try stuff. The second thing is I would say is you already do things probably daily that you don't even pay attention to that you probably enjoy doing. So I would say, what do you do right now for fun? I would tell them to write it down and say, okay, how do I feel when I go do this? How do I feel when I go do this? And then I will look for other things to add to that to go try. And then go from there and try to figure out what you're passionate about.
Yeah, you can once you figure that out and put it on paper, like you can kind of figure out ways to recreate that.
You kind of can
Uh,
see it.
yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, any before we finish, any like last piece of advice or words you want to say or wisdom you want to leave us with?
All about wisdom, but I will give you encouragement. Um, Man, the fact that we still, for those of you that are still here, we breathing and we living, man, I think that means that we still have an amazing opportunity to do something special. And man, the time is now. There's no
Mhm.
more waiting for a new year to come in. Like the time is now. We gotta do whatever it is we want to do. Whatever job, relationships, house you want. You want to go move to another country. The time is now. Got to go do it, and you can do it.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that. That's
yeah.
awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Well,
Welcome.
this has been another good talk on purpose and motivation from Ricky Sapp, motivational speaker, owner of Ricky Sapp Foundation, and the dancing weight room coach. So, if people were going to follow you or find you, where would they find you?
Follow me. Nah,
Oh, we
I'm
didn't
on
even
Instagram.
share. You also have a podcast, so you have to share where to find that as well.
Yeah, so my podcast is Talk to Me Tuesday, and I do it every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on Facebook Live, or you can go to Spotify, Apple, any podcast platforms, Anchor FM, and just type in Talk to Me Tuesday. I do that every Tuesday. That is a motivational podcast. I'm on Instagram. I got my new speaking Instagram, and it's the Dance the Motivational Speaker. Also, I have my regular Instagram now. It's RSAP Foundation. I'm on Twitter, Sap91. I'm on YouTube. I got my own YouTube channel, Ricky Sapp, and something else. I'm missing something. I don't know something, but yeah, I'm on all of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hopefully people will reach out and find you and get some positive, encouraging energy from you. So thank you for being here and for sharing. And yeah, it's been really good. Thank you.
Thank you.